Good morning, folks. Triple Crown coming to you from Vancouver, British Columbia. My friend Bill Calloway suggested I do a round one recap for those who did not watch or don't have the time to watch all of the other specific German or Italian or American turns. So we're just going to do a summary. Now, this is the end of round one. So another discussion I had is in terms of, it's actually not supposed to be there, balance of the game. Okay, and there's probably four major things that can change every single game you play, and that the first one happened in round one, and that is the rolling of the French territories and rolling of the French ships. Number two is the rolling of the American and the Russian economies. And also, the final one is the Lend-Lease. Is the Lend-Lease going to make its way across to Russia when needed? Now, in round one, the Germans inherited 5 ships, 1 battleship, a cruiser, and a small navy down here. The British only inherited 2. So that was a swing there. Another major point was the fact that Syria went Vichy, which, if the British, and this was a mistake, because, something that I'm going to look back on and would not do again, that the British was going to make a stand here in the Med and build a naval base and have a scramble, even though they were slightly outgunned, and they were also going to send a unit into Greece and annex these boats. So that changed things, and now the Mediterranean is closed, and that is a big game changer. So that happened, but the fact that Syria went Vichy is huge. And also another something that happened down here is both French Indo and Saigon. There's 1 unit there each that the Japanese would have had to have killed had they gone free French. And the Japanese also had pretty good dice along the coast here, not so much inland, but along the coast. So now they have more units to swing around. They didn't lose anybody. So that is also key. So every game, in terms of trying to find the balance, so we're gonna go over some things. Actually, first we're gonna talk about going into, because this question came up, going into round two. At the start of round two, all of the pro nations get a free infantry in their capital. So there's 5 that are still pro, either Axis or Allied, so they're gonna get a bump. And the Axis miners, in terms of how their economies work, so they have 12 IPP if they control all 3 that goes to Germany, but they have their own economies. Well, how does that work? Basically, it'll say on the back of the setup chart, but Bulgaria will get 3 IPP. Finland will get 3 IPP. Bulgaria will get 3 IPP per turn. Romania will get 6. And sorry, did I say Bulgaria? That is Bulgaria. Bulgaria is my dark gray. So this is Hungary. Hungary gets 3. So anyways, apologize, folks. I do have specific sculpts for these. You can see the mustard orange, the dark gray, the light gray, and this sort of pearl. These are all available from HBG in their Axis Miners section of the battle pieces. So that can happen there. Now let's talk about strategy. So the Japanese decided to build 4 naval transports turn 1 and do a major landing here and a major landing here, which those territories cannot be taken back. On turn 2, their navy is going to be in these 2 sea zones here. They annexed Siam, so they are going to be doing their surprise attack on Calcutta at the start of round 3, and there's nothing the British can do to stop it from happening. They could do a naval blockade here in this sea zone, but as the rules are currently set up, 1 ship blocks 2, and they do not have enough to form a meaningful naval blockade. So that is not going to be the strategy. But because I've screwed up so horribly here in Cairo, as I mentioned, I don't know if the British are going to be able to hold both. Sometimes what some people do is they know they're going to lose both, or they're risk losing both, they will just give one away and bring everybody to try and at least save one. So maybe that is a strategy that I do. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Now, Germany is going to basically all of the pro-Axis territories here, and this, as you can see, there's 3 of them. Those units are locked until both Yugoslavia and Greece are under Axis control. Now, the Italians did the Germans a favor. They air blitzed Greece and sent in a couple units, and it was a mutual destruction. So next turn, the Germans can take Greece. They can now build a factory in Bulgaria, and all of these units can now move into position to attack Russia, which is now favorable because Russia did not roll well for their economy. They were only rolled 7, and the Americans rolled 8, I believe. Now, up here in this little proxy war that's happening, they're playing some ping pong back and forth, but now that the Russian economy is so meek, the Finns and the Germans are probably going to go in heavy and take Valkyrie back. So that is probably what's going to happen there. If the Russians had a strong economy, that probably would not be the case. And same here with the Japanese. America, I think I'm going to have to check the notes, but it was Russia rolled 7 and America rolled 8. So it was horrible. So that means they can probably go in here and attack Russia, the UK, the Far East Command here in Calcutta, and America will still not be in the war. So that's going to hurt. And basically now for the Japanese, everything they purchased round 1 is basically everything that can hit Calcutta. Nothing they purchased round 2 is going to make it down here in time. So their goal now is to get back some of these Chinese territories here that the Russians and the Communist Chinese and the KMT. So they're now that the KMT, you can see they've got quite a few units there. Russia, because their economy is not great, it makes more sense for them to be sending more units back to Moscow to defend Moscow. They did send 3 units here into Amur via rail, but they don't have much punch. They have a little bit of a defense. It's a distraction, and same with the CCP. The heavy lifting here in China is going to have to come from the KMT. They did get Lend-Lease armor. They've got a couple cavalry. They've got their fighter. They've got an artillery there. So it's going to be up to them to push back. And now why these battles here on the coast are critical is because now Japan can probably leave a couple, because their only goal is to fill all the transports. Well, they're going to have more than enough units, so they can leave a few units behind to start defending, Peking and Shanghai, which now they're probably going to be building factories on and start pumping out units. So sometimes if US gets into the war, or I've play tested it, but if US goes full Pacific right now and starts heading this way, that can be very difficult for the Japanese. And you get Anzac here coming up. They annexed the Dutch East Indies. They've got a small Dutch Navy they've annexed. They built a destroyer. Their fighter here is in position. So, but what the British have done here in the Middle East is they've consolidated their navies. Now there's a naval base here, and so why I like this is because in terms of strategy, they can still go either direction. So basically they're in 2 places at once, or have the option. So the Japanese are kind of, hoping the British are going to go this way, and the Italians are hoping the British are going to go this way. But when you're here, especially if you've got units, that is sort of a dual threat. So I like this idea of a naval base and the ability to help either. And you've got a couple transports here, so you could shuck guys. Another key battle thing here was this loss of this transport here, because South Africa was not able to reinforce Cairo on turn 1, or at least get some units up there. So that was also key. The British decided to not annex Liberia and bring their transport over here in efforts to get those ground units up to here. So we'll see if that is going to help. There was mutual destruction over here in the Atlantic. Turn 1, there was subs all over the place. They took out the large British fleet in Sea Zone 23, and up here in 14, the British had a counterattack and wiped out the remaining, I think there was 4 submarines, a destroyer, a cruiser, and a damaged battleship there. So the British did well there. Now you can see the inherited French boats, but the Germans still have a battleship and a cruiser and 2 subs. The British decided to send one of their submarines from Sea Zone 35 up here, and Canada built a couple of corvettes. And the British also eliminated the German fleet that was in the Med. That was just too risky. They needed to get rid of it, so they did that. So now the Allied strategy for the British is going to be to build units here, and hopefully with all these, I think the Italians have 3 transports in the Med. So hopefully they are not able to get enough ground units to take Cairo on the following turn. But why this is a problem now that they're in Syria, well, they can, not that the fact they're going to annex Iraq, but the fact that the Luftwaffe now have a landing spot. They can take, they can air blitz and kill, all these units in Cairo if they want to. So that is the problem. And now, one of the new rules is 2 Italian transports per turn can get on. So yeah, 2 Italian transports per turn become part of the Kriegsmarine, and the Germans can use them like they were owned for that one round. So the Germans, if they want to, could be coming down here into the Med. The Luftwaffe lost 2 of their bombers, so they don't have any medium bombers left. They were able to come up here and take all of Finland and Denmark and Holland, so they have their NO there. So just because I've said it, we're going to give 1 free infantry to Iran, another infantry to Iraq, 1 to the Belgian Congo, which is now pro-Allied because Belgium is now pro-Allied because their capital is in German control. And Brazil gets a free infantry, and so does the capital of, can't remember, is it Argentina? Yeah, Argentina. Argentina gets a free infantry in their capital. So that's a little wrinkle. So sometimes it's actually better to, knowing this, is better to wait around because you're gonna get more free guys, right? Like these guys here, now there's 2 instead of 1. Now there's 3 instead of 2. So that's kind of a neat little thing. Now something else that I had some fabulous comments by Captain G and Hambone, and I'm still reworking, because in this game I wanted the actual attack, the big attacks that happened, to be kind of special and sort of historically represent kind of what happened. So the Barbarossa, what we're going to be play testing in this game, is the Germans have 3 attacks along the Eastern Front where all of their units attack at, I think, a +1, and the Russian units defend -1. And we're going to say now that 5 tactical bombers can air blitz, and they get first strike on the first round of combat. Now, it was suggested that all of the aircraft can do this, but I think that might be a little bit too powerful. If it was first strike, you're just going to air blitz and wipe out like 10 units. So we're just going to say that it's the tactical bombers because their role was more to attack ground units. And the Russians were basically caught napping. Their air force was on the ground, so basically the Germans have air superiority. So we're saying the their tactical bombers can, air blitz, so they could go 2 spaces. They could go, into here and kill units that are here. They could go into here and kill units that are here, or even in Crimea. So that can be fairly detrimental if the Russians are counting on those units to be there, and if there's Italian units ready to can open. And also we're going to say that on the following Russia turn, they can only attack one of the 3 territories that was the surprise attack. So that's what we're going to play with there. I know that seems pretty powerful, but yes, sort of the D-Day, the double impulse, the Japan sneak attack, the Tora. We're trying to make them very special in the game. Now, another thing that I want to do, or an issue I had in the game, is you can see, folks, after this mutual destruction here in the Atlantic, which is the battle in the Atlantic over? Well, it's going to be very tough now for the Germans to project their submarines into the Atlantic. And that's because if they build them here, where are they going to go? Because wherever they go, say it's here or say it's here, they only defend it too. So how do they project their presence to get any of these convoy zones in the Atlantic? And I still want this to be a fight. So what we're going to do is, I mentioned it, I think in the Germany video, is we're going to allow Germany now to purchase sub pens for 2 IPP. So this is the Sculpt from HBG, it's a sub pen. So basically we're going to allow 1 sub pen per territory. And let's just imagine these German subs are in there. So it can house 2 submarines. And basically those subs are protected. They're not subject to SBRs or that would be strategic bombing raids or other naval attacks. They're basically safe. And now they can project, if there's a naval base here, they can project now into the Atlantic. So they're allowed to build 1 in each sea zone along the coast, and even including up here in Norway if they choose, for the cost of 2 IPP each. And we're going to say that what happens if the Allies capture Normandy, or Bordeaux, or say this is where it is Bordeaux, that basically that facility is destroyed. On the next German turn, they have to make their way to a non-hostile sea zone. So that's what's happening there. I know this is a little, I'm concerned that there's a lot of rules and some people might feel this is a little bit too much, but I feel this is important because of the Battle of the Atlantic. I don't want the Germans to basically be finished after round 1 or round 2 in terms of this fight. And as my friend Hilltop, his strategy is always that Germany needs to be building at least 2 subs per round. And what happens when the Germans are building submarines is, this is what the Allies have to build, is destroyers. So that's a 5 IPP for the Germans, and that's 7 for the Allies. So it just even occurs as even if you lose that battle, destroyers are not dropping off ground units. So I want this to be still part of the game, because historically it's relevant, and it was a major part of the Battle of the Atlantic in 1940 and 1941, and it didn't start to turn in the Allies' favor until the Americans joined in 1942. So that is another little wrinkle. I think I've gone over all the strategy, or all basically a round 1 summary. America's probably going to be lend-leasing the Chinese another armor. They can do 2 per turn. The fact that the Japanese are all over here, America now is probably going to, with their they've only got 2 transports, but they could start maybe building a little bit of a threat here in the Pacific. And the Russians have to make a decision. Do they go heavy into Finland to fight all these guys, or start backing up to the capital? So that's another key thing that has swung in the Axis favor. And I think that's all I got, folks. So thanks for watching. Just wanted to take a moment of pause here and wish everybody happy holidays and Merry Christmas. And everybody has their traditions. And my children and myself, we did our gingerbread houses this morning. So I'm sure, hopefully some of you are enjoying your holiday traditions. And going forward, and I should have maybe mentioned this at the start of the video, actually I forgot to mention housekeeping items. Now folks, I've been trying to speed up these videos in the sense that I don't want you guys to watch me thinking while I'm taking my turn. So I have made some errors that I caught off camera after the fact. And then one of them was I actually did it twice. I actually annexed these territories with actually 2 mechs. I actually moved 2, not 1. And one of my attacks I forgot to mark, which was one of the guys from Marseille walked into Bordeaux. So that now is under Free French territory. The fighter from Calcutta landed down here, and the air transport from Tokyo brought a guy and landed in Saigon. So yes, so that was a little bit of housekeeping, which so folks, I've been doing one-shot videos, no pausing or no editing. So they are riddled with errors, and I apologize. It is holiday season. I'm very busy. So my thought going forward is the next round is more of a housekeeping, getting into position round. So I'm going to do a round summary after round 2, not every round. And I think I might roll key battles from here, like the battle for Calcutta, or things that are of importance, like Barbarossa, things of that nature. So thanks for watching, folks, and stay tuned.